The invitation arrived in September. Columbia University. Presidential Scholars Welcome Evening. A celebration for incoming freshmen who'd received full academic scholarships. November 15th at 6 p.m. Low Memorial Library. Business casual. Family welcome. My nephew Ethan had earned one of those scholarships. Perfect SAT scores. Valedictorian. National Merit Scholar. He was going to study pre-med. Follow in his aunt's footsteps, my brother Michael kept saying. Except Michael had no idea what my footsteps actually looked like. The invitation included a +1. Dr. Claire Mitchell and guest. I didn't have a guest. I'd been divorced for 6 years. My ex-husband had wanted children. I wanted my career. We'd wanted different lives. I RSVP'd for one. 2 weeks before the event, Michael called. Claire, you're coming to Ethan's thing at Columbia, right? Wouldn't miss it, I said. Great. We'll sit together. It's this whole reception thing. The dean is speaking. Very prestigious. Ethan's so excited. I'm excited too. He's going to be pre-med. Just like his aunt. Michael's voice was warm with pride. Remember when you were pre-med? Now look at you. Working at the hospital. It's come full circle. Working at the hospital. That's how Michael described my career. For the past 20 years. I'd stopped correcting him 15 years ago. It has, I said simply. Listen, Claire, I know you're busy with your hospital job, but try to dress nice for this, okay? It's Columbia. Very formal crowd. Lots of important people. I'll do my best, I said. Great. See you there. He hung up. I sat in my office staring at my phone. My office. Director of Cardiovascular Surgery, Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Corner office on the 8th floor. Windows overlooking the Hudson River. My name on the door. Dr. Claire Mitchell MD PhD. 3 diplomas on the wall. Columbia undergrad, Columbia Medical School, Columbia PhD in Biomedical Engineering. I'd spent my entire professional life at Columbia. 24 years. From undergraduate student to attending surgeon to department director. But to my brother, I worked at the hospital. Michael and I had never been close. 6 years apart. He was the older brother. The golden child. The one who did everything right according to our parents' standards. He went to Penn State. Studied business. Graduated with a 3.4 GPA and got a job as a sales manager at a pharmaceutical company. Married young. Had Ethan at 26. Climbed to regional director by 35. Now, at 52, he was VP of sales making $240,000 a year. Our parents thought he'd conquered the world. I was different. The intense younger sister. The one who studied too much. Who chose science over social life. Who went to Columbia on a full scholarship while Michael paid full tuition at Penn State. Claire's the smart one, Dad used to say. Like it was a consolation prize. But Michael's the successful one, Mom would add. I graduated Columbia summa cum laude. Got into Harvard Medical School, Johns Hopkins, and stayed at Columbia for their MD-PhD program. 8 years of medical school and doctoral research. 3 years of general surgery residency. 3 years of cardiothoracic surgery fellowship. I performed my first solo heart surgery at 32. At 35, I was appointed assistant professor of surgery. At 39, I became the youngest associate professor in the department. At 42, I was named director of cardiovascular surgery. I oversaw 17 surgeons, managed a $47 million annual budget, and performed approximately 140 surgeries per year. I'd published 73 peer-reviewed papers. I'd developed a new minimally invasive technique for aortic valve replacement that had been adopted by hospitals worldwide. I'd trained 34 cardiac surgeons who now worked across the country. Last year, I'd been named one of the top 50 cardiac surgeons in America by U.S. News and World Report. But my family still thought I was a hospital worker. I tried to explain once. 12 years ago at Thanksgiving. I'm not just working at the hospital, I'd said. I'm directing the cardiovascular surgery department. I manage the entire program. That's great, Claire, Michael had said. Management is good. I'm in management too. Regional director now. It's not the same. We're both doing well, he'd interrupted. Different paths but both successful. Our parents had smiled. Relieved that their children weren't competing. Except we weren't competing because they didn't understand we weren't in the same league. Michael managed sales teams for a pharmaceutical company. I operated on human hearts. But explaining felt like bragging. So I stopped trying. "How's the hospital?" became their standard question. "Good," became my standard answer. And the years passed with my family thinking I was a mid-level hospital employee making decent money and living a modest life. The truth was more complicated. As director of cardiovascular surgery, my salary was $520,000 annually, plus bonuses for research grants and publications. My net worth was approximately $4.7 million. I owned a brownstone in the Upper West Side. 3 bedrooms. Bought 12 years ago for $1.8 million. Now worth $4.2 million. I'd never mentioned the house to my family. They thought I rented an apartment. I drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic. Wore simple clothes. Lived modestly except for my home which I loved. Money had never motivated me. Medicine had. The chance to save lives. To innovate. To teach. To push the boundaries of what was possible in cardiac care. I'd performed over 2,800 surgeries in my career. My survival rate for high-risk procedures was 96.7%, significantly higher than the national average of 91.3%. I'd saved 2,800 lives. That was my success. Not my salary. Not my title. The lives. But my family measured success differently. Michael's house was bigger. His car was newer. His son was going to Columbia. Finally, Mom had said when Ethan got his acceptance letter. Someone else in the family going to an Ivy League school. Claire's always been the only one. Ethan's going to be pre-med, Michael had added proudly. Just like Claire. Maybe she can give him advice about the hospital. I'd smiled and said nothing. November 15th arrived cold and gray. I left the hospital at 4 p.m. I'd finished my last surgery at 2:30. A triple bypass on a 67-year-old man with severe coronary artery disease. The surgery had gone perfectly. He'd be in ICU for 2 days then recovery. He'd go home to his wife and grandchildren. Another life saved. I went home. Showered. Changed into a navy dress and blazer. Simple. Professional. The kind of outfit that said hospital employee, but also Columbia alumna. I arrived at Low Memorial Library at 5:50 p.m. The building was stunning. Neoclassical architecture. Massive columns. The iconic dome. I'd walked past it thousands of times as a student, but it never stopped being impressive. Inside, the rotunda was set up for the reception. Round tables with white linens. A stage with a podium. Screens on either side showing the Columbia crest. I found the check-in table. "Name?" asked the student volunteer. "Dr. Claire Mitchell." She scanned the list. Her eyes widened slightly. "Oh, Dr. Mitchell. Yes. You're at table 3. That's the VIP section. Presidential donors and distinguished faculty." "Thank you." I found table 3. Front section. 2 other people were already seated. I recognized one. Dr. Patricia Huang, Dean of Columbia Medical School. "Claire." She stood and hugged me. "So glad you're here. Wouldn't miss it. My nephew is one of the scholars." "Wonderful. These kids are incredible. We're so lucky to have them." The other person at the table introduced himself. "Robert Chin. I'm on the board of trustees." "Claire Mitchell. I'm faculty at the medical school." "What department?" "Cardiovascular surgery." Are you the Dr. Mitchell who developed the minimally invasive aortic valve technique?" "I am." "Brilliant work. My father had that procedure last year. Changed his life." We talked about cardiac innovation. About Columbia's research programs. About the future of medical education. At 6:15 I saw Michael enter with his wife Linda and Ethan. Michael was wearing a suit. Linda had on a cocktail dress. Ethan looked uncomfortable in dress pants and a button-down shirt. They were scanning the room. Looking for their table. I waved. Michael saw me. Waved back. Started walking over. Then he noticed where I was sitting. Table 3. Front section. With the dean and a board member. He hesitated. Walked over anyway. "Claire. You're here early." "I am." "This is table 3. I think that's for faculty and VIPs." "I know. I'm sitting here." "Oh. They put you with the VIPs? That's nice of them. He didn't understand. Thought someone had made a seating error in my favor. Where are you sitting? I asked. He checked his card. Table 17. Back section. Come on, Linda, Ethan. Let's find our table. Good to see you, Michael, I said. We'll catch up after. They walked away. Dr. Huang smiled at me. Your brother? Yes. He seems nice. He is. He just doesn't quite understand what I do. How is that possible? You're one of the most prominent cardiac surgeons in the country. He thinks I work at the hospital. Like a staff position. I've never corrected him. She stared at me. Why not? Because it doesn't matter. My work speaks for itself. Whether he understands it or not doesn't change the lives I've saved or the research I've published. That's very zen of you. Or very tired, I admitted. I spent years trying to explain. Eventually I stopped. Robert Chin leaned over. My brother thinks I'm in finance. I'm chairman of the board of a Fortune 500 company. Family is complicated. It is, I agreed. At 6:30 the program began. The current university president welcomed everyone. Talked about Columbia's commitment to merit-based scholarships. Introduced the Presidential Scholars Program. These students represent the best of the best, he said. Perfect grades. Perfect test scores. But more than that, leadership, innovation, passion for learning. They're the future of Columbia and the future of our world. Applause. Tonight we're announcing something special. Thanks to the generosity of our alumni, we're expanding the Presidential Scholars Program. For the first time, we'll be able to offer full scholarships to 50 students per year instead of 30. More applause. This expansion is possible because of a transformative gift from one of Columbia's most distinguished alumni. Someone who embodies the very best of what Columbia stands for. Academic excellence. Innovation. Service. Leadership. I knew what was coming. I'd made the donation 6 months ago. $8 million to endow 20 additional scholarships in perpetuity. The interest would fund full 4-year scholarships for students who couldn't otherwise afford Columbia. I'd asked to remain anonymous. But the development office had convinced me to let them announce it at this event. It will inspire the students, they'd said. Show them what's possible. I'd agreed. Reluctantly. Now sitting at table 3 I realized Michael was in the audience. At table 17. About to find out who his sister really was. The president continued. This alumna graduated summa cum laude. Completed her MD and PhD here. Became one of the youngest department directors in Columbia Medical Center history. She's published over 70 papers, developed life-saving surgical techniques, and trained dozens of surgeons who now save lives across the country. I could see table 17 from where I sat. Michael was listening politely. Probably wondering who this impressive person was. Last year she was named one of the top 50 cardiac surgeons in America. This year she's giving $8 million to ensure that students like our presidential scholars can afford to attend Columbia regardless of their financial circumstances. The screens lit up. My photo appeared. Professional headshot from the medical center website. Below it, Dr. Claire Mitchell MD PhD, Director of Cardiovascular Surgery, Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Please join me in thanking Dr. Claire Mitchell for her extraordinary generosity and her lifetime of service to Columbia. The room erupted. 800 people stood, applauding. I stood slowly, smiled, waved slightly. At table 17 Michael was frozen. His mouth was open. He was staring at the screen. Then at me. Then at the screen again. Linda was standing and clapping, but she looked confused. Ethan was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. The president gestured for me to come to the stage. I walked up. The applause continued. He handed me the microphone. Thank you, I said. I'm not much of a public speaker. I'm better with scalpels than words. Light laughter. But I want to say something about why this scholarship matters to me. 28 years ago I was sitting where these students are sitting. A presidential scholar. First in my family to go to an Ivy League school. Daughter of a factory worker and a teacher. I had perfect grades but no money for tuition. I paused. Columbia gave me a full scholarship. Without that scholarship I would have gone to state school. Maybe become a nurse instead of a surgeon. Maybe never had the opportunity to develop new surgical techniques or train the next generation of cardiac surgeons. That scholarship changed my life. I looked at the presidential scholars. 50 faces. Young. Eager. Brilliant. So this donation isn't charity. It's paying forward what Columbia gave me. The chance to reach my potential. The chance to serve. The chance to make a difference. I looked at table 17. Michael was still frozen. Not clapping. Just staring. These students will do extraordinary things. They'll cure diseases. Build companies. Create art. Serve communities. Lead movements. And someday maybe they'll pay it forward too. Maybe they'll give some other brilliant kid the chance they had. I held up the certificate the president had given me. Thank you, Columbia. For believing in merit over money. For creating opportunities. For changing lives. The applause was thunderous. I walked off stage. Back to table 3. Dr. Huang hugged me. That was beautiful. Thank you. Robert Chin shook my hand. $8 million. That's transformative. It's an investment, I said. In the future. The rest of the evening was a blur. Dinner was served. I made small talk with the table. Students approached to thank me. Faculty members congratulated me. At 8:30 the formal program ended. Networking began. Michael appeared at my table. Claire, can we talk? Of course. We walked to a quiet corner of the rotunda. He looked shaken. You donated $8 million. Yes. $8 million. Yes, Michael. Where did you get $8 million? I saved it. Over 24 years. Plus investments. Plus the sale of some stock options. Stock options from what? I consult for a medical device company. They gave me equity. The company went public. The stock appreciated. He was quiet for a long moment. You're not just working at the hospital. No. You're the director of cardiovascular surgery. Yes. You're one of the top 50 cardiac surgeons in America. According to one ranking, yes. You make what? What do you make? Michael, I don't think. Just tell me. Roughly. Including bonuses and consulting, about $600,000 a year. His face went pale. $600,000. It's not about the money. You make $600,000 a year and you never told us? You never asked, I said quietly. You asked how the hospital was. I said good. You assumed I was a mid-level employee. I didn't correct you. Why not? Because it didn't matter. You measured success by salary and title. You were proud of your VP position and your $240,000. If I told you I made more, it would have changed our relationship. You would have felt competitive. Or defensive. Or like I was showing off. So I stayed quiet. That's not fair, he said. Isn't it? How many times did you tell people about my job? She works at a hospital. In that dismissive tone. Like it was nice that I had employment but nothing special. He looked away. I heard you tonight, I continued. When people asked about me. She works at a hospital. My son will be the real success. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You've been saying it for 20 years. I work at the hospital. You're the successful one. The regional director. The VP. The one who made it. Because I thought. You thought I was ordinary. Unremarkable. Just another hospital employee. Because I didn't brag about my achievements or my salary or my research. So you assumed I didn't have any. He was quiet. Michael, I've performed over 2,800 heart surgeries. I've saved 2,800 lives. I've published research that's changed how we do cardiac care. I've trained surgeons who are now saving lives in 34 states. That's my success. Not my salary. Not my title. The lives. I didn't know, he whispered. Because you never asked. You never visited my office. You never asked to see the hospital. You never asked about my research or my patients or my work. You just assumed. At that moment Ethan appeared. Dad? Aunt Claire. He looked between us. Are you okay? We're fine, Michael said automatically. No, we're not, I corrected. But we will be. Ethan looked at me. Really looked at me. You donated $8 million. I did. For scholarships. Yes. Why? Because 28 years ago Columbia gave me a full scholarship. Changed my life. I wanted to do the same for other students. That's... He paused. That's incredible. Thank you. I had no idea you were so successful. Most people don't, I said. I don't advertise it. Dad said you worked at the hospital. Like as a staff person or something. Michael looked ashamed. I do work at the hospital, I said. I'm just also the director of cardiac surgery. Both things are true. Ethan smiled. Can I ask you something? Of course. You said you're going to follow in your footsteps. The pre-med thing. But I don't even know what your footsteps look like. Would you tell me? Really tell me? I looked at Michael. He nodded. I'd be happy to, I said. We went to a coffee shop near campus. The three of us. I told Ethan everything. About medical school. The sleepless nights. The first time I held a human heart in my hands during surgery. The feeling of knowing that if I made one wrong move the patient would die. I told him about my first solo surgery. A 54-year-old woman with aortic valve disease. How I'd been terrified. How my hands had shaken. How the surgery had taken 6 hours. How she'd survived and hugged me 2 weeks later and said, "You gave me my life back." I told him about the research. The years of studying minimally invasive techniques. The failures. The breakthroughs. The moment I realized we could do valve replacements without opening the entire chest cavity. I told him about the first patient who received my new technique. How the recovery time was cut in half. How the complication rate dropped. How other surgeons started adopting it. I told him about the teaching. Training residents and fellows. Watching them perform their first surgeries. Knowing they'd go on to save thousands of lives. That's the real success, I said. Not the salary or the title or the awards. It's the woman who gets to watch her grandchildren grow up because you replaced her valve. It's the man who gets to walk his daughter down the aisle because you repaired his coronary arteries. It's the lives you save and the lives those people touch. Ethan was listening intently. Do you ever lose patience? Yes, I said honestly. Surgery is risk. Sometimes we do everything right and the patient still dies. Those are the hardest days. How do you handle it? I remember the ones I saved. The 96.7% who survived. The families who got to keep their loved ones. And I used the losses to make me better. To refine my technique. To reduce risk. Every patient who dies teaches me something that might save the next one. Michael was quiet. Just listening. I want to do that, Ethan said. I want to save lives. Then you'll be a great doctor, I said. Will you help me? Like mentor me through pre-med? I'd be honored. He smiled. This is so much cooler than I thought. Dad always said you worked at the hospital like it was boring. But this is amazing. Michael flinched. I reached over and squeezed his hand. Your dad didn't know. How could he? I never told him. You could have, Michael said quietly. Why didn't you? Because you seemed happy thinking you were the successful one. The golden child. The one who'd made it. I didn't want to take that away from you. That's incredibly sad, he said. Or incredibly kind, I countered. Depending on how you look at it. I've been a jerk, he said. For 20 years. Introducing you as my sister who works at a hospital, like it was cute that you had a job. You weren't a jerk. You were uninformed. There's a difference. I should have asked more questions. Yes, you should have. But you can start now. Over the next 6 months everything changed. Michael visited my office at the hospital. Watched me do rounds. Sat in the observation gallery during a surgery. Saw what I actually did. Afterward he'd said, "That was the most intense thing I've ever witnessed. You're incredible, Claire." Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. You see it now. That's what matters. Ethan started coming to the hospital every other week. Shadowing me. Bernie. Asking questions. I introduced him to residents. Let him observe procedures. Taught him about anatomy and physiology and the art of surgery. You're a natural teacher, one of my residents said. You should do more of this. I am, I said. Starting with my nephew. In March, Michael called a family meeting. Mom, Dad, Linda, Ethan, and me. I have something to say, Michael announced. For the past 25 years, I've been telling everyone I was the successful sibling. The one who made it. The one who did everything right. Our parents looked confused. But I was wrong. Claire is the successful one. She's one of the top cardiac surgeons in the country. She makes twice what I make. She saved almost 3,000 lives. She donated $8 million to Colombia. And I had no idea because I never bothered to ask about her life. Mom's mouth fell open. $8 million? Yes, I said simply. Where did you get $8 million? I saved it. Invested it. Earned it over 24 years of working as a surgeon. You're a surgeon? Dad asked. I thought you were a hospital administrator or something. I'm the director of cardiovascular surgery. I both operate and administrate. Silence. Then Mom said, why didn't you tell us? I did tell you. Multiple times. You didn't listen. Eventually I stopped trying. That's not fair. Mom, Michael interrupted. It is fair. We didn't listen. We assumed. We were so busy being proud of my regional director title that we never asked what Claire's title was. I'm proud of your title, I said to Michael. You worked hard for it. But we can both be successful. Success isn't a competition. I know that now, he said. I wish I'd known it 20 years ago. Dad stood. Walked over to me. Hugged me. I'm proud of you, Claire. So proud. And I'm sorry I didn't say it more often. Thank you, Dad. Mom joined the hug. My daughter, the heart surgeon. Cardiac surgeon, I corrected gently. But close enough. In May, Columbia held its annual donor recognition event. The development office had asked me to speak. To explain why I'd given the $8 million. I agreed. The event was at the faculty house. 300 guests. Major donors. University leadership. Faculty. Students. My whole family came. Mom, Dad, Michael, Linda, Ethan. They sat at table 5. Front section. Proud. When I was introduced, they stood and cheered louder than anyone. I walked to the podium. Looked out at 300 faces. And began. 28 years ago, I walked onto this campus as a scared 18-year-old from a working-class family in New Jersey. I'd been accepted to Columbia with a full presidential scholarship. Without that scholarship, I would have gone to Rutgers. Probably become a nurse. Maybe taught biology at a high school. I paused. But Columbia gave me a chance. A chance to study with the best professors. To work in world-class research labs. To attend medical school. To become a cardiac surgeon. To save lives. I looked at my family. My family didn't always understand my path. They thought I worked a modest hospital job. They didn't know I was directing a department or performing complex surgeries or publishing groundbreaking research. And honestly, that was partly my fault. I didn't share. I didn't explain. I let them think what they wanted to think. Michael was crying. But over the past 6 months, that's changed. My family now understands what I do. And more importantly, why I do it. Not for the salary or the prestige or the recognition. But because every surgery is a chance to give someone more time. More birthdays. More anniversaries. More moments with the people they love. I held up the donor recognition plaque. That's why I gave $8 million to Columbia. Because this university gave me the chance to do that work. To save those lives. To make that difference. And I want to give that same chance to 50 more students every year. Forever. The room stood. Applauding. My family stood first. After the speech, after the networking, after the thank yous and handshakes and photographs, I found my family waiting for me. Ethan hugged me first. That was amazing, Aunt Claire. Thank you. Michael hugged me next. I'm so proud of you. I should have said that 20 years ago. You're saying it now. Better late than never? Much better late than never. Mom and Dad hugged me together. Our daughter, Mom said. The heart surgeon. The professor. The philanthropist. Just Claire, I said. Doing work I love. Just Claire who saved 2,800 lives, Dad corrected. We went to dinner afterward. An Italian place in Morningside Heights. The kind of restaurant families go to celebrate. And we celebrated. Not my donation. Not my title. Not my salary. But the fact that after 25 years of being invisible to them, my family finally saw me. Really saw me. Not as she works at the hospital. But as Dr. Claire Mitchell. Cardiac surgeon. Lifesaver. And that was worth more than $8 million. That was priceless.